Hey guys, today we are starting off in beautiful Vienna, and I am so excited to take you along with me. So, if you're ready, let's get started. Today, I want to show you one of my favorite spots here in Vienna. It's called Brasseria Palmenhaus, and it is honestly such a beautiful place. It's this old greenhouse right next to the Burggarten filled with huge palm trees and so much natural light. It really feels like a little escape, right in the middle of the city. And let me tell you about their croissant. It is so flaky, so buttery, basically the perfect croissant. I always pair it with a classic Viennese melange. It's kind of like a cappuccino, but a bit lighter and creamier, and they make it really good here. If you ever come to Vienna and you are looking for a cozy place for coffee or brunch, definitely check out Palmenhaus. I think you are gonna love it. The croissant actually comes from Vienna, and it's connected to the Ottoman siege back in the 17th century. The bakers in the city were the first to notice the Ottomans trying to dig tunnels under the walls. They helped warn the soldiers, and after the city was saved, they baked pastries shaped like the crescent moon, which was on the Ottoman flag. That crescent shape later became the croissant we all know today. Alright, so the next spot I want to show you here in Vienna is Café Landtmann, one of the most iconic and historic coffee houses in the city. This place has been around since 1873, and it was actually a favorite of some pretty big names like Sigmund Freud and Gustav Mahler. The vibe here is really elegant, but still feels super welcoming. It's the kind of place where you can just sit for hours with a coffee and soak up the atmosphere. And of course, I had to order the Apfelstrudel, the classic Viennese apple strudel. It's this super thin pastry filled with warm apples, cinnamon, and sometimes raisins, usually served with vanilla sauce or ice cream, and it's so good. If you're ever in Vienna, make sure to stop by Café Landtmann and treat yourself to this little piece of history. Alright, so the next spot I want to show you here in Vienna is the Gloriette at Schönbrunn Palace. This stunning structure was built in 1775 atop a hill to serve as a focal point in the palace gardens. Originally designed as a temple of fame, it was intended to commemorate just wars that led to peace. The Gloriette offers panoramic views over the entire Schönbrunn complex and much of Vienna. It's a perfect spot to relax and take in the scenery. Inside, there's a cafe where you can enjoy a coffee while soaking up the atmosphere. If you're visiting Schönbrunn Palace, make sure to take the walk up to the Gloriette. The combination of history, architecture, and breathtaking views makes it a must-see. Now we're heading over to something really unique. Here in Vienna, it's called the Anker Clock or Ankeruhr. This beautiful Art Nouveau clock is right in the middle of Hoher Markt, which is actually one of the oldest squares in the city. It was designed by Franz Mach and built in the early 1900s as part of the old Anker Insurance building. That's where the name comes from. But what makes it so special is that every hour, one of 12 historical figures slowly moves across the clock like a little parade. If you're here at noon, you can catch all 12 of them passing by with music playing in the background. It's such a fun little moment. You'll see people like Empress Maria-Theresien and composer Joseph Haydn, so it's a perfect mix of art history and a bit of magic right in the city center. Definitely worth stopping by if you're exploring Vienna. Another spot you shouldn't miss while you're here in Vienna is the Beethoven Museum. This is the actual house where Ludwig van Beethoven lived for a few years and where he worked on some of his most famous pieces. It's located a bit outside the city center in a really quiet and beautiful area of Heiligenstadt, and the story behind this place is honestly so touching. Beethoven moved here in the early 1800s hoping that the peaceful countryside would help improve his hearing loss, which sadly was already getting worse at the time. This is also where he wrote the famous Heiligenstadt Testament, a heartbreaking letter to his brothers, where he talks about his struggles with deafness and how much it affected him. When you walk through the museum, you can really feel the history. The rooms are filled with personal items, letters, and even original scores. If you're a music lover or just curious about Beethoven's life, this place gives such a beautiful and personal insight into the man behind the music. So if you have a bit of extra time in Vienna, definitely make the trip out here. It's so worth it. Speaking of Vienna's beautiful details, here's one more for you. This is Palais Daun-Kinsky. And honestly, it's giving total royal energy. Right in the heart of the city, this Baroque palace is super extra in the best way possible, with all the gold details, the fancy windows, and that super dramatic vibe. It was built in the early 1700s by Johann Lucas von Hildebrandt, who basically designed half of Vienna's most iconic buildings. Originally, it was for Count Daun, but later the Kinsky family stepped in and claimed the place. That's where the name comes from. Inside, it's absolutely next level. We're talking grand staircases, insane ceiling art, so much gold, it literally feels like you're on a movie set. These days, they use it for concerts, weddings, and fancy events. So if you ever get the chance to go inside, trust me, do it. But even just walking by is totally worth it. This place is such a vibe. If you're into royal drama and a little bit of history, you need to check out the Sisi Museum here in Vienna. It's all about Empress Elizabeth or Sisi, and trust me, her life was far from your typical fairy tale. She was famous for her beauty, her iconic long hair, but also for being super independent and not really loving the whole royal lifestyle. The museum gives you a peek into her world with her dresses, her personal letters, and the real story behind the glamorous image. It's beautiful, it's tragic, and honestly super interesting, definitely worth a visit while you're here. So this beautiful square right here is called Maria-Theresien-Platz, and it's named after one of the most iconic figures in Austrian history, Empress Maria Theresa. She ruled the Habsburg Empire in the 18th century, and fun fact, she was actually the only female ruler of the dynasty, which was a pretty big deal back then. She was super powerful, smart, and known for being both tough and caring at the same time. She had 16 children, by the way, including Marie Antoinette. Yeah, the one from France. During her reign, she pushed for a lot of reforms in education, the military, and even healthcare, so she wasn't just sitting on a throne. She was really shaping the future of the empire. Right here in the middle of the square, there's this massive statue of her surrounded by some of her generals and advisors, total boss energy. And the square itself is framed by two gorgeous museums, the Art History Museum and the Natural History Museum, both worth a visit if you have time. It's one of those spots in Vienna where history feels super alive. All right, so if you're in Vienna and you're in the mood for something sweet, you absolutely have to stop by Demel. This place has been around since 1786, and it was actually the official pastry shop for the Habsburg royals. So yeah, we're talking real imperial dessert vibes here. The moment you walk in, it feels like time travel, beautiful old-school interior glass cases filled with the most amazing cakes, chocolates, and pastries. Of course, you can't skip the Sachertorte, but one thing you really need to try here is the Kaiserschmarrn. It's this super fluffy shredded pancake named after Emperor Franz Joseph, and it comes with powdered sugar and usually a side of plum or apple compote. It's warm, sweet, and totally comforting. And the best part at Demel, they make it right there fresh, and you can actually watch the pastry chefs doing their magic behind the glass. It's like dessert theater. So if you're in Vienna and looking for that true royal treat experience, Demel is the place to be. Come for the cake, stay for the history. So here's a fun little story behind one of Austria's most famous desserts, the Kaiserschmarrn. The name literally means the emperor's mess, and it's named after Emperor Franz Joseph, who apparently loved this sweet, fluffy, shredded pancake. There are a few different stories about how it actually came to be, but my favorite one goes like this. One day, the royal chef was trying to make a fancy pancake dessert for the emperor and Empress Elizabeth, who, by the way, was super into healthy eating and pretty picky about food. The pancake didn't turn out as perfectly as planned. It kind of broke apart in the pan, and the chef was super stressed out about serving it. But the emperor apparently loved it as it was messy, sweet, soft with powdered sugar and jam on the side, and he said something like, "Oh, bring me the emperor's mess, this is great." And just like that, Kaiserschmarrn became a thing. Today, it's one of the most loved comfort foods here in Austria. Fluffy, slightly caramelized shredded pancakes served with plum or apple compote, and trust me, it's absolutely delicious. Okay, so if there's one coffee house in Vienna that totally lives up to the hype, it's this one right here, Café Central. This place is not just a cafe, it's basically a piece of history with really good coffee. It first opened back in 1876, and get this, people like Sigmund Freud, Trotsky, even Beethoven and Klimt used to hang out here. So, yeah, the guest list is pretty impressive. The moment you walk in, it feels like you're stepping into a palace. The high ceilings, the chandeliers, the marble columns, total old-school glam vibes. Their coffee game is obviously strong, but the pastry selection here is next level. Make sure you try the apfel strudel or one of their classic cakes. It can get a bit crowded because it's super popular, but honestly, it's so worth it just to sit here, soak up the atmosphere, and imagine all the brilliant minds who once sat at these tables. Alright, so we're wrapping up today with one last stop, and I saved something super iconic for the end. If you've heard anything about Vienna, you've probably heard about the Schnitzel, and when it comes to Schnitzel, this place is pretty much legendary. This is Figlmüller Bäckerstraße, also known as the home of the original Wiener Schnitzel. They've been serving this since 1905, and they are famous for making schnitzels that are bigger than your plate. I'm not even joking. What makes it special is how thin and crispy they get the veal or pork they use, plus the way they coat and fry it. So it's super light, not greasy at all, just golden perfection. It usually comes with a side of potato salad and a slice of lemon, simple but absolutely delicious. So if you're in Vienna and you want to go full traditional Austrian, you've got to come here and try it for yourself. Perfect way to end the day, good food and a little piece of Viennese culture on your plate. Hey, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more social media tips and strategies, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and drop a comment below. I've got lots more coming your way, so stay tuned and let's grow together.